is going on, SHIPIT Nation YouTube station? Yes, we're back. NHL back on the docket. Apologize for the lack of shows recently. Had a ton of real-life travel going on, and logistics-wise, recording a show just wasn't possible. Still had all the content up there. Have the slate plan live and ready for SHIPIT Nation subscribers. If you are a subscriber, check out the slate plan for this loaded 11-game slate here on FanDuel and DraftKings. If you guys are new, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. And if you have not saw by the opening video, if you're not a member out there, Saber Sim and SHIPIT Nation, call it Saber Sin, if you will, the partnership there with the greatest optimizer in the industry, paired with the greatest content provider in the industry, in my opinion, for the best rates for the consumer, which is all that matters for everybody out there, right? Pay less for content and tools, play more in a DFS contest, right? In DraftKings, you got to be in the game to win, right? So definitely head over there, shipitnation.com. Join now. You see all the packages are up on the screen there. Throw them up on the screen here real quick for you. Best value is going to be that all access plus the optimizer starter pack. If you're a little bit more advanced and you want to dive in and get the sims and get up to 5,000 lineups in your pool, have all the content sims, like I said, that rank them by ROI, and actually simulate the lineups that it produces against the competition and the contest that are going to be playing in there. That's for the first 30 days, $297, and then I believe it does go up to about $330 a month. Obviously, that's not for everybody, but I would say the best value is that $129 package. Saber Sim is absolutely incredible. It's been crushing for NHL, NBA ever since we kind of partnered together there. I've been really tapping into it, really been tapping into actually like the lineup study feature where you do get access to that with this all access starter plan, where you can go back on any contest, on any slate, any site, look at what the leaderboard did, look at the most profitable players, how they stacked up their teams, what they kind of allowed, what their exposures were, and really kind of learn from the best. Huge part of my process, huge part out there for everybody that I would highly suggest diving into and tapping into. You do need to have at least the $129 package, the all access plus starter, to get access to that lineup review feature there. But 11 games on the docket here tonight. Let's go ahead and pull up the stone as always and talk through this loaded slate here. First game on the docket is the Panthers and the Bruins. Bruins no longer do have Brad Marchand. He did get dealt prior to that trade deadline there. So from a DFS perspective, I think this is a pretty good spot for Florida here. Swayman's just not been great. Bruins are kind of selling out, if you will. Obviously, they still have Pastrnak there, but selling out, kind of selling the farm there, and kind of going into more of a rebuild structure here. Metrics-wise, Panthers, pretty good road scoring team in the league this year, top 10. And looking at the Bruins, bottom 10 in the league in expected goals against. They allow a ton of power play opportunities, and they allow a ton of Corsi as well there, metrics-wise. So pretty good matchup here for the Panthers. I like the second line probably the most here with Bennett. Mackie Samskovevich here. I probably butchered that name like I always do there. So good laugh for everybody out there in the chat. And then Ivan Rodriguez, really cheap price points and on Mackie and Rodriguez here with Sam Bennett, who's been great all season long. I think people, when they come to the Panthers, are going to go to the Barkov line for a good reason. I mean, Barkov at 6,300 is kind of a joke. That's way too cheap, even on the road here in a matchup against the Bruins. Bruins have not been the same team this year as years past. Teams have been scoring in bunches on this squad here. So Barkov at 6,300, too cheap there. Sam Reinhart has absolutely destroyed Boston in his career. I mean, I think he's averaging like 25 plus DraftKings points over the last, 4 or 5 games that I looked at against Boston there. So 7,200, good price point for him. And then Carter Verhaeghe as well at 6,600. That top line, compared to a lot of top lines in this league for their talent level, is underpriced. With the new dynamic pricing, right? DraftKings has kind of priced these guys up in these lines, getting full line stacks like a line one like that at these kind of price points is few and far between there. So I do think really good prices on Florida line 1. Line 2 is probably my preferred, just at the ownership discount there. Still exact same matchup. Typically like line 2 is a little bit more on the road as well. Always talk about that. But can't go wrong with either line 1 or line 2 here. And then Seth Jones, 4,500, newly acquired from Chicago. Finally got their guy on the top power play there. So Seth Jones at 4,500 makes a really good play as well, in my opinion there. Aaron Ekblad at 4,600, still solid as well. On the Bruins side, Mason Lohrey, still solid value option there, 4,300. Ton of talent there by him. Outside of that, really not getting to any of these Bruins against Florida here. I think Bob is a really good spend-up goalie option as well. He should see a decent amount of volume. And if you're spending up, I think he's probably a better play than some of these other spend-up goalie options that are a little bit more higher priced than him on this slate. Next game on the docket here, Columbus and New Jersey. Devils at home here haven't been great as of late over the last 10 games. They're dead second last in the league in actual goals scored per game on average, sitting about 2.3 on average. Jackets have been pretty leaky. They're second worst in the league on the road this season. Expected goals allowed per game as well. Merzlikins isn't been great by any means there. So it's a pretty solid spot here for the Devils. Obviously, Devils are dealing with some injuries there. The top line now is Nico Hischier, Timo Meier, and Nosen. I think they're still a solid play here. 4K, 6,900, 6,400. That's still reasonably priced there against the Jackets. And Merzlikins there. Got to have some interest in the Devils. They're not one of my favorite teams by any means, but they're definitely top 8 on the slate for me. You can even get some value guys like Cody Glass here. I think is interesting. At stone minimum, getting power play time there. You can definitely look his way. And then that second line with Dawson Mercer, Jesper Bratt, and Andre Palat also have really good price points there as well. So I think that's fine. And then Luke Hughes and Brett Pesce with the injuries there and what they're looking like from that blue line. I think both of those guys make some decent plays in terms of value. On the Jackets side, I'm usually a Jackets guy. I don't love it here. Markstrom's been actually really good. Devils have been pretty good on home ice as well. They just limit high danger chances. They control the puck. They're actually best in the league in Corsi percentage, which obviously means controlling the puck, right, and taking those shots on the ice there. So from the Jackets side, probably a full fade for me. If I went to anyone, it would be Boone Jenner, 4,900 since he's returned. He's been one of the most underrated players in the NHL since he's been in the league. He finally just came back a couple games ago off the IR this year, and he's looked pretty good. So I like him at 4,900. You can definitely pair him with Kent Johnston and Matthew Olivier. That's a really cheap stack, secondary stack, going to have no ownership there. So if you need to make stuff work, I definitely don't mind some of that line too. Zach Werenski, obviously one of the best D-men in the league. You can always play him. Don't love it, but at 7,600, you're not playing close to 9K like we have been earlier this year. His price is starting to come down. It's not the worst matchup by any means, so you can definitely play him. Next game on the slate, Senators and the Flyers. It's tough for me to get a good read on this game. The only thing I can say is I do expect goals in this one. Flyers' underlying metrics actually are pretty good. On home ice, they're top 10 in the league in actual goal or expected goals against. They have a pretty good power play or penalty kill, sitting about 81% on the season. They allow the second least power play opportunities per game as well. So if I had to pick a side, I'd probably side personally with the Flyers, especially with the Senators on a back-to-back with travel here. Linus Ullmark played out of his mind last night, 48 save win, just ridiculous. Absolutely nuked the slate last night. So if you didn't have him, it's pretty tough to be profitable last night. Showed up my guy Shalhoub out there. Had a crazy night last night. He slammed Allmark, had really good teams, and absolutely smashed last night. So good stuff out there for Shalhoub. Coming into the night, I'm going to side with the Flyers side here at home. Last line change definitely going to matter. In Forsberg and net, not the same as Allmark by any means. So Flyers, I think Noah Cates is interesting. Bobby Brink, Forrester. Really cheap, those guys. And then the Couture, Michkov, and Tippett line are really good. Connecting, don't sleep on him, even on the third line. He plays over 20 minutes, one of the best two-way wings in the league. So think it's a pretty sneaky spot here for the Flyers. Definitely have some interest, especially in tournaments here. I would not sleep on these Flyers. These Flyers with the Senators on a back-to-back. These Philly-Ottawa games tend to shoot out as well. So I think this is a sneaky spot to get some Philly love in your teams as fillers, and their price points, they're all pretty cheap for the most part. And Michkov has been absolutely on a tear since the All-Star break there, and 6,100, he's still fair price there. So like it quite a bit on the center side, really not getting to anyone. Jake Sanderson, I would say, is a solid play if you're looking to spend up there. The D-man can't get all the way up to guys like Cale Makar, right? You can't get all the way up to guys like Zach Werenski. Jake Sanderson there at 6,600, I think, is good. And then Artem Zub at 3,900, another solid option there from the Senators. Next game on the slate, Vegas and the Penguins here. Jari's been absolutely horrendous. Vegas is good. Vegas, one of the heaviest favorites on the slate, minus 210. I think they're just behind Florida and just ahead of Colorado. So those are the three kind of big dogs on the slate. Hard to not have interest in Vegas here. And seeing this ownership is pretty interesting to me. If Vegas is going to go overlooked, I definitely like them quite a bit. I think people, like I said, are going to run to the Panthers. I think people are going to run to the Avs against the Wild. And I'll take a shot against Tristan Jarry, who's been horrendous. Obviously, you see blood red here. Not very good this season. And the Vegas Golden Knights have been playing pretty good hockey as of late. Tomas Hertl with Dorfiev and Brandon Saad is a really good line. Saad's been playing great right now. Tomas Hertl's also been great. So I really like Vegas line 2 here a ton. And then Jack Eichel, you can always play him with Stone and Tanner Pearson, who's come on as of late, 4,100. I do prefer Brandon Saad or Barbashev at a similar price point there. But Tanner Pearson, if you're playing line 1, really cheap line stack, line mate just to pair up with Jack Eichel. You can get away with a mini stack there if you want, or just go an Eichel Stone and Noah Hannafin as like a 3-man there. Noah Hannafin, really good option there. He's on point on that top power play, 5,700, fair price there. But yeah, Vegas smash spot here tonight against the Penguins. On the Penn side, not really getting to anyone. Aiden Hill, I think, is a really good goalie option on the slate, 8,100, fair price for him. Typically don't like spending up on goalies, especially with the new pricing structure the way it is, where value at center and wing is historically just been atrocious. You're kind of dumpster diving for value D-men. If you can get there, it's actually really kind of made your roster construction-wise kind of live in the mid-tier with this new dynamic pricing, which DraftKings has kind of put out since the All-Star break there. So I think on the Penn side, basically full fade for me, not really getting to anyone. I don't want to go there. So Vegas kind of or pass for me in that one. Next game we have to get to is an important one here. I have an interesting take here. I'm not seeing really anyone to go to the Carolina side in this one. I get it. Andrei Vasilevsky has been incredible. He's a very good goalie. He's one of the best goalies in the league for sure. But Carolina, one of the best teams in the league as well. They're also on home ice where they can dictate last change. And Oliver Bjorkstrand is going to be probably the chalkiest player on the slate. Higher stake stuff, I wouldn't be surprised to see him pushing 40, 50%. He's still at minimum. It's just sheer misprice from DraftKings. He's slotted in to be on that second line with Hagel and Cirelli. And since the trade, since he's come over, again, still on minimum. And not many people are going to be playing Kochetkov here in net or any of the Carolina side. Optimizers, SaberSim in particular right now is kind of slamming the Tampa side. I actually like the Carolina side more than the Tampa side here. Hard to go wrong with Bjorkstrand at still on minimum there. Skating next to 2 solid line mates. I'd probably match the field. Not something where I'm locking him by any means or going significantly overweight. Not telling you to fade him either. The value's there. We need value on the slate. There's places to spend up at. So I get the reasoning for it. Again, that's just going to lower the Carolina side in terms of ownership, especially at Kochetkov here in goalie at 7,800. He's definitely a solid goalie. He can definitely have a good game here. First time these two teams played in Tampa, it was underwhelming. It was a 3-2 win by Tampa here, and Kochetkov was in that. He had 34 saves, did give up 3 goals there, so he's going to see volume. 7,800 if he gets the win. I think he's definitely in play to win some tournaments here. But the new look Canes are definitely an interesting squad here with Stankoven coming over. He scored a goal last night or the night before. So have some interest, but my only worry that I do see is Andrei Vasilevsky is one of the best goalies in the league, like I said. And at his price point, 7,600, I think is definitely interesting. So long way of saying I have interest in this game, but I think I have more interest in the goalies than the actual offensive sides. If I were to pick an offensive side, it would be the Carolina piece, just with that last line change, the leverage you're going to get on the slate. And it's actually a really good team in general. Some of these depth guys I think you can take a shot on too, like Jordan Staal I think is fine. Martinook is fine. Seth Jarvis is fine. Stankoven's got a nice price point at 4,700. I think he's fine. So definitely don't be afraid to play some of them. And then on the Lightning side, obviously the slate kind of centers around Oliver Bjorkstrand, just a stone minimum price. And he's going to see probably 15 to 18 minutes, which is hard to argue there, skating next to Brendan Hagel, who's been great all season long. Next team on the slate here, the Wild. I should call this team the injury squad from this year. This is the team that I cheer for. Obviously, Wisconsin doesn't have a hockey team here. Minnesota just can't stay healthy, man. Their entire team's been hurt all season long. Gus is a really good goalie, but he's kind of been hung out to dry. The blue line's been injury-riddled all season long. They're finally getting a little bit healthier from the blue line, but now they lost their offensive firepower. Obviously, Kirill Kaprizov still on the IR there. The Avs are just a wagon right now, especially with the trades with the acquisition of Brock Nelson, Martin H is coming over from Carolina. This team is just absolutely incredible. The only issue I have on why I don't think Colorado is a smash match play, again, would because of Philip Gustav. So in tournaments, I think Gus Bus is not the worst option. He's not been good all year against Colorado. He's given up 10 goals across 2 games. So I think this is a pretty good spot here actually for Colorado, especially with the injuries the Wild have, right? No Joel Eriksson-Ek, which is a huge loss from a defensive standpoint. So Colorado, I think, is probably of the spend-ups my favorite team on the slate, even ahead of Florida, even ahead of Carolina that I talked about earlier, even ahead of Jersey. They're probably my favorite spend-up team in terms of that minus 200 favorites or above. Love McKinnon. Brock Nelson, I think, is a really good option. 7K for him with Nichushkin and Jonathan Drouin. Really good option. That line looks really good together as well. So Colorado, lines 1, 2 are kind of the main 2 lines I'm looking at. That third line is still good with Charlie Coyle coming over. Ross Colton is solid as well. So pretty much anyone on the Avs is in play, I guess. From looking at it further here, Kale McCarr, I think, is definitely a good option. It's just tough, man. 8K. He'd probably have to be in a 3 defensive men build where you play McCarr in the utility spot. That's probably the only way I get to him there, but I think it's a good option. On the Wild side, you can pull some value if you want. Freddie Gaudreau is going to play close to 20 minutes with the injuries they're seeing. 3,600, still fair price there. Blackwood's not an incredible goalie by any means, so could see the Wild still score some goals here and be enough in terms of fantasy purposes to fill out lineups like Marcus Johansson at 3,200, still value there. Freddie Gaudreau, like I said, 3,600. Vinny Hinostraza, 3,200, top line, top power play. With the minutes he's going to see, I think is a solid value option there. Jared Spurgeon at 4,300, still a good value there. But that's pretty much all for me. Again, Gus Bus in tournaments at 7,400. He's definitely capable of putting up a big number. Hasn't done it yet this year against Colorado, but he has broken slates this season and scored 30-plus multiple times on the year. Does it come tonight against Colorado? I'm not sure. I'm not banking on it, but again, have seen crazier things happen. Next team on the slate here, I do have interest in this one. Jets at home. Jets should be able to roll this Rangers team. even with the trades that the Rangers made, Igor's just been broken all year. Now going into Winnipeg to face Wagon. I think this is a good spot here for the Jets. Scheifele's price has come down. I like his price. Kyle Connor is fairly reasonably priced. And then Velarde there. That top line, really good options for me. Ownership's not going to really go to them. That's kind of the story of the slate. Anytime you have 10-plus games really on a slate, ownership tends to spread out unless there's like a massive favorite or something like that. So definitely like the Jets quite a bit. Don't sleep on that second line either with Nemestikov, Ehlers, and Perfetti. That's a really good line. And then they do have some good depth lines with guys like Dino Niederreiter, Appleton, and Adam Lowry. Probably don't get to them myself, especially unless I'm MMEing. Maybe get some sprinkles in mass multi-entry, right, tournaments, GPPs, things like that. But for the most part, it's lines 1 and 2 for me for the Jets. Connor Hellebuck, really good option at 7,900. Really, really good goalie. 77% win percentage on the year. And the Rangers are kind of a mess. So definitely like Hellebuck. Definitely like the Jets. On the Rangers side, you could play a cheap JT Miller at 5,400. He's fine with Zibanejad and Will Cool. Will Cooley's been really, really good. And 3,500 still a very fair, reasonably priced point. But it is a tough test to come into Winnipeg and face Connor Hellebuck, one of the best goalies in the league, on home ice where they dictate the matchups there. So kind of a Jets or pass spot for me in that one. Next game on the slate here, Montreal and Vancouver. We could see fireworks in this game. Neither of these teams are very good defensively, but I will say Vancouver has been the best team in terms of expected goals against. Top 6 in the league in actual goals against, so they have been better over the last 10 home games. So really not a spot I'm looking to kind of go to anyone really in this game. This game's kind of a fade for me, which is scary because last time these two teams played, Montreal went absolutely nuclear, I believe. Could be a fluke. You could see it again. Montreal still has fair price points on guys like Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slavkovsky there. But yeah, last time this game did shoot out for 9 goals. It is a 5.5 total now. Vancouver on home ice, I think, can slow it down. But again, the loss of JT Miller is huge from a defensive two-way center. He's one of the best in the league there, so it does hurt this team defensively. Haven't quite seen that too much since the All-Star break and since the trade deadline there. So it's tough. It's tough for me to get a read on this game. Like I said, last time Montreal in Vancouver at home did win this game 5-4. Now in Vancouver, I think Vancouver can slow this game down a little bit. But if I went to anyone on Montreal, I'd probably be Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky. That top line for me, I think that's where I would kind of cut it off. And then Matheson and Lane Hudson, 2 good options from a defensive standpoint. On the Vancouver side, Montebault, not been great. You could pull some pieces if you want to here. Pettersson, Connor Garland would be kind of the 2 favorite guys there for me. Little 2-man stack I think you could get away with there. And if you want to add a third, a guy like Philip Hronek at 4.8K, not the craziest play by any means. And then Jake DeBrusk and Brock Besser down on that third line with Pius Suter, I think, is also sneaky. So kind of lines 1 or 3 for me for Vancouver are kind of the preferred options if going there. And I can never fault anyone really for playing skaters against Montreal who give up goals in bunches, especially when Montebault's in net for sure. Next game on the slate, Caps and the Ducks. Interesting to see kind of middling ownership and virtually no ownership on these Capitals. I hope that stays true because the Ducks, outside of Lucas Dostal, just I don't think are very good. Dostal can definitely halter anyone, especially at home where they dictate the matchups. But for me, it's the power play matchup here for the Caps that I want to attack. Strome, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Ovechkin, Tom Wilson, and Carlson. Those are the guys I'm looking for here. Carlson and Chychrun, you can't go wrong with either of them. I prefer Carlson just because he's on that top power play. So I like those 5 skaters a lot. Really targeting that Ducks 73% penalty kill. They allow a ton of penalties against per game. Caps have a really good power play as well. So all things kind of point to the Caps here. Full line strength, I think I prefer line 2 with Pierre-Luc Dubois, McMichael, and Protas. McMichael and Protas, 4,800, 4,900 with Pierre-Luc Dubois, I think, makes it definitely affordable to stack up. It's the Ducks, and we've been attacking them kind of all year. Caps, don't really want to play anyone against the Caps. Caps are a physical, grueling team. Logan Thompson's a good goalie. I'm not spending $8,500 to get up to him. I just don't think he's going to see the volume to pay off that price point. If he gives up a goal or two, I'm going to be hard to hit the optimal on this big of a slate there. So Caps, skaters, or pass for me in that one for the most part. I do want to bring up two guys, though. Jacob Trouba, 4,100, really good value there. He's been blocking a ton of shots lately, so I definitely like Trouba and Radko Gudas as well. Those are two good value D-men on the slate if you need to save some money there. Islanders and the Kings, not much interest in this game from me. If I went to anyone, it would be on this Kings side. Ans Kopitar, 4,400, just ridiculous with Kemp and Kuzmenko. At top line, I'm seeing decent amount of ownership go to these Kings, which I don't like a chalky Kings on 11-game slate by any means. Sorokin hasn't been the greatest goalie, but he's still a solid goalie. Do I really want to play a chalky Kings squad on an 11-game slate? I'm not sure. The Islanders are dead last in the league in expected goals against per game over the last 10 road games they have played. So is a pretty good matchup wise for the Kings here. But at this kind of ownership, I'd rather go elsewhere. I do think they're good plays, though, so do have to state that. I think the Kings are definitely good plays, and they're deep. I mean, Byfield, even on that third line with Lafreniere and Fiala, don't sleep on them. The second line with Dano, Fogle, and Moore, and then obviously that top line. The Kings are 3 lines deep. That can cause issues for teams, so I could definitely see the Kings kind of scoring here. I'm just not sure which line it's going to come from. I would probably rather take a chance at line 2 or line 3 when I'm seeing all this ownership go to this line 1, just due to these price points there. Last game on the slate here is definitely a good one. Preds and the Sharks. This game, I think, is going to shoot out. This is probably my favorite game environment to attack on the slate. From a matchup standpoint, the Predators are bright green. Green in every 4 category, and then bright green to attack against every against category for the Sharks. So exactly what you draw up, what you want. Preds, it's Tuesday. It's Forsberg Tuesday. Hard for me to argue any of these Preds. What's interesting to me is seeing Nashville just not getting ownership, which is kind of crazy. I don't think this is going to stay true. I would expect them to get some ownership here, but maybe not. It's not like a Colorado or something facing the Sharks. It is still Nashville. People just have been kind of sold on this team all year. They've been selling. I think this is a good spot to buy on Nashville here. I will definitely be heavy on Nashville. They're deep. I mean, Ryan O'Reilly, Stamkos, Evangelista, if that line stays true, I think is good. But I really like the second line if it stays how it is with Sissons, Forsberg, and Marchessault. They're expensive, but Sissons at being 4,100 does bring the price point down there. And then you get Brady Shea with no Roman Josi at 5,500 on that top power play there. So Preds, really good spot. And then Sharks, also good plays here. Matchups-wise, Macklin Celebrini has one of the best matchups for centers on the slate. He's a very, very special player, really good. And he's got 2 really good line mates with Will Smith and Clint Costin, who are 2 cheap guys and playing good. So for me, for the Sharks, it's Alex Wenberg is a value, Macklin Celebrini, 2 really good options there. And then Toffoli, Eklund, Will Smith are kind of the 3 guys, the 3 wings I'm looking at. And then you can definitely play Timothy Liljegren or some of these value D-men. But it's mainly the forwards for me for the Sharks, Celebrini, Wenberg, Toffoli, Eklund, and Will Smith are kind of guys I'm looking at there. But really good options late here. Both these goalies are horrendous. So I could see a 6-5 type game here where you pretty much need it in tournaments. So definitely like having at least some pieces from this game, whether it's on the Sharks or the Preds, in pretty much all the teams that I built here tonight. That's going to do it, though, for this NHL quick hit here. I will bring up SaberSim real quick and just kind of show you. I ran a baseline build of our projections over here and kind of just walked through and did a baseline build just to kind of see what it was pushing. I'll click on team stacks here. As you can see, right, Tampa, like I already talked about, Tampa, Montreal, 2 teams that I didn't love personally. What I like about this is look at where Nashville is. Nashville's all the way down here on the board, so I really like that. Colorado's also way down here on the board, so I really like that as well. 2 teams that I talked pretty highly of, Colorado and Nashville. I really like that. Philly, I had some interest in. They're way down the board. They're not going to get ownership. I like that. Vegas, same thing down here. Winnipeg, same thing. San Jose. So this is kind of what I usually do to kind of get a baseline overview of what the kind of slate looks like, stack exposures wise. As you can see here, 5, 2, 4, 3 stacks of kind of what it's been spitting out there. Obviously, this is just a baseline. I didn't make any tweaks to team stacks or stack exposures or anything. I'll go in here and create my own builds here after the show and really dive in. But from a baseline build, like I talked about, Tampa getting a lot of ownership. Montreal's going to get a lot of ownership. And some of the teams that I'm really high on, right? Colorado not getting ownership. Nashville not getting ownership. San Jose, Vegas, Philly, some of those teams that I talked about just not going to get pushed, at least from the baseline build in projections and optimizers. So I definitely like that for tournaments. I will definitely be going in and diving into that and trying to get some exposure to those squads to see if I can get a leg up on the field here. But appreciate everyone tuning in. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. I'll be in the Discord answering any questions. Slate plan is already live. Stone is updated. We got everything you need to have success over here at SHIPIT Nation. But until next time, let's ship it.